All right. Well, hello, world. It's always the moment in the beginning of a presentation where you're like, what should I talk about? What should I say? How do we engage people? Especially doing these on your own, which is always interesting. But for those of you who are live streaming with us right now, I'd love to hear where you're streaming from. So in the chat, I'd love to hear where you're coming from or where you live, and what you got going on today. What is one thing that you have on your to-do list today for you to accomplish and execute to be successful? Let's go ahead and start throwing some of those comments in the chat for me. That'd be great. And what I'll do is I'm just going to give a couple people chances to come on and give them a moment as well too to be available on the stream so they can make sure they see it. So it's Monday. I'm sure we have a lot of things we want to accomplish, we want to finish up, and we want to do. So once again, in the chat, put something in the chat that you have to accomplish today that in some way, shape, or form you may or may not want to. It's Monday. There's always things that we have to address and pursue. So, okay, we got one person coming from London, publishing a thought leadership article. Awesome, Rob. Thanks for joining us. Awesome to have you. I'd love to chat about that. That's definitely up my alley as well too. So, Rob, thanks for joining us. It's always interesting with like the psychology of a Monday because you just came off a weekend. For the most part, most people aren't working on the weekends. It's always trying to figure out like, how do you reboot and how do you start? How do you get your week moving again? And so what's relevant about what we're going to talk about today is the fact that there are a lot of things that we can do to get ourselves ready for the week, and a lot of things that we should actually be doing during the week to make sure we are getting ourselves ready. So I think what I want to do is really kind of just for most of you who are, kind of on the streaming and watching us. And I don't know if you've heard of us for the first time or not, but my name is Dr. Erik Reis, and I am one of the co-founders, and I am the director of health and wellness at Nobody Studios. Nobody Studios is a high velocity venture studio focused on creating 100 companies in 5 years. Our goal as a venture studio is to de-risk the early stage startup process. And what's been amazing throughout this entire journey is that a couple of things. One, I've been there since day one. I remember having meetings with Mark literally in his garage with like rusty bike chains sitting next to his shoulder and having this discussion of being like, should we do this? And so what's been amazing about our journey is just watching this whole evolution evolve and things change over time. And it's been so awesome to see not only the investors that we've brought to the table, but the people, the fellow nobodies, the people who have brought their ideas, their capital, their talent, their influence to help us build this amazing machine that we have. And so as we're starting our crowdfunding journey, for those of you who have questions or who want to become involved, down in the right bottom corner, we have a link to our Republic platform for investing. So outside of that, I think the big topic that I want to talk about today is peak performance. I mean, what does this look like? Now, what I'm not going to be talking about today is how to get you to, deadlift 500 pounds or to get you to, run a mile underneath 4 minutes. What I want to talk about is peak brain performance and peak cognitive performance. And I love doing this lecture because so many people are looking for these hacks, for these ways, for these, aspects of their life that they can improve and to build these habits. And really at the end of the day, the reason why I came into this title of trying to find ways to improve, our ability to execute and to be influential and, be, successful at being able to accomplish tasks, because I struggle with this. I've played contact sports most of my life. Most of the past decade of my career has really been working with complex neuro cases. And so I've seen the worst of the worst. I've also been a patient. I've been a doctor. I've been being an advocate, now an entrepreneur. Like there's so many aspects that go into how do we actually create our day and establish habits of success that can allow us to actually execute and to do the tasks that we actually want to do. Everyone started Jan 1st probably with some goals, with some resolutions of things that they wanted to get done. Have you accomplished them? What does this look like? Are goals really the big factor? Or is it developing habits and building systems? We'll talk about some of this stuff. And some of this work comes from James Clear's work with Atomic Habits. And even before then, there are a lot of people who've preceded him talking about different components of, how do we create tiny actual habits that manifest into bigger things long term? I think that this topic is really important because you really can maximize your brain by maximizing your business. And this is something that we are keenly focused on at Nobody Studios, which is how do you metaphorically help people update their software? And on top of that, how do you help entrepreneurs, business owners, founders, researchers take an idea and turn it into reality? This is not always an easy task, but what I believe we've done is we've taken a system, we've built a system and streamlined it to allow people to take an idea and bring it and turn it into an enterprise. And this is what we're going to talk about today is like, what are these habits? What do these steps look like? So first and foremost, I want you to be able to maximize your brain and maximize your business. And I believe that they are mutually exclusive. You can have the best business in the world, but if you burn out, or if your mental health gets in the way, or if you're not able to execute and get up in the morning and execute on these tasks that you need to get done for the day, your business will fail inevitably. And so this is a massive kind of undertaking for us to understand that, the quality of your brain in some way, shape, or form will manifest into the quality of your business. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, of course, I'm going to put a disclaimer up stating that I am not your doctor. I do not have a doctor-patient relationship established with you, and I'm going to be talking about medical-based information here. But it's at your discretion for what you want to implement. It's at your discretion for what you want to do, what you want to utilize. And if you have to consult a physician, I suggest doing so and going for. But let's talk about business life in 2023. What does an average day look like for you? Probably get up in the morning. Maybe you have a morning routine. Maybe you make some breakfast. Maybe you don't. Maybe you get a workout in. Maybe you don't. Maybe you have some reading. But at some point, you're going to get on your laptop. You're going to check your emails. You're going to have an actionable task you're going to take care of. Business life in 2023 is busy. And it's chaotic. And it's full of distractions. And this is a massive problem for a lot of us, is that distractions are all over the place. Yes, it's a text message. Yes, it's an email. Yes, it's maybe somebody calling on you from the other cubicle. The problem is that a lot of us are distracted, and distractions take away from our quality of life and our ability to execute on work. The even bigger problem is that overall, like, distracted employees are 38% less efficient at work. And what I can say is the exact opposite. Engaged employees are literally 38% more effective at their jobs and executing on their tasks than their average coparts. I mean, that's amazing. One of the biggest issues we run into is that out of an 8-hour workday, the average person works for 2 hours and 53 minutes. Think about that. For an 8-hour workday, you get in less than 3 hours of actual quality work. Now, if you're intentional with that work, you're probably going to get some things done, but you waste 5 hours a day. The average person on this streaming wastes 5 hours a day checking their email, their voice messages, their texts, looking at Instagram, social media, whatever it's going to be. And that's a massive problem because what we're not doing is we're not engaging. But then more importantly, too, this contributes to mental health issues, a lack of fulfillment, right? We don't have a purpose as deeply as we would like to. And so this is a massive issue for us as a society. We are distracted. Now, the biggest problem with this is that this affects us neurologically. This is the brain. I'm to be surprised if this is something that's new to anybody, but this is what the brain looks like. And this is actually the brain sliced in half. This amazing organ weighs 3 pounds. Your brain is not really that dense, but it's dense with different things like neurons and fats and proteins and water. Your brain is 73% water. What's amazing about your brain is that your brain is unique to you. Now, yes, we may share similar lines of DNA and have different aspects to us that allow us to think and move and act and do things that humans do, but your brain is different compared to everyone else's. And that's why you are responsible and you are on the, kind of on the line for figuring out what works for you and what doesn't. But what's beautiful about the brain is that the brain changes and grows and adapts and can allow you to do literally anything that you put your mind to. Now, we used to think in like the 50s and 60s that you were kind of just stuck the way that you were with your development and the person that you were, and you develop characteristics, and you're kind of, once you're done hitting puberty, you're kind of just, that's how the way that you were going to be for the rest of your life. But we know that's not true anymore. This whole concept called neuroplasticity allows your brain to be flexible and allows your brain to change, which allows you to change, which allows you to grow. It allows you to, learn a new task or get better at something. It's what allows you to start up that instrument, and all of a sudden it's super hard the first day, but days, weeks, months, years later, you're like, oh, this isn't so bad. And it's what allows you to become a better version of yourself. This is what I'm trying to get to, is that we all have the capacity to change. Now, I say that with a caveat, because you can change for better, or sometimes we can change for worse. Now, of course, our goal is to always change for better, but how do you control that? Well, you have to build the right systems, and you have to build the right habits in place. And I love this quote from Einstein, is that problems cannot be solved by the same thinking that created them. You literally have to become a different version of yourself to get to the next level of where you want to go. And we deal with this, whether it's in the clinic or whether it's in the studios. How do you become a better version of yourself? By being challenged, by growing, by asking hard questions, by admitting when you're wrong, by being flexible with your thoughts, and being that trusted business partner or that teammate that can keep everybody honest. This is super important for us as humans, because it allows us to grow and to change, and not only in that, but develop our purpose. Now, what I think is important for this is that if you already had everything figured out, you wouldn't be struggling with the things that you're struggling with right now. And don't get me wrong, we're not perfect. None of us are perfect, right? Regardless of how things may look or how you may perceive things in the world, whenever people post on social media, they're always posting the best times of their lives, not their worst, right? But performance, at the end of the day, is the continuous pursuit of finding the best version of yourself. And I think that's important, because whether it's in the clinic, whether it's in the boardroom, whether it's in the gym, whether it's in your personal life or professional life, it doesn't matter. You're using these same techniques, and you're using the same mechanisms at play to improve your ability to become a better version of yourself. And so what's really interesting with this is we kind of have to ask ourselves, like, how do we create habits of success? Like, what do these look like? Are these things where we just set some goals down and say good luck and we hope we finish them? Well, there's probably more to the story with that. There are a lot of people who would argue that goal setting actually isn't very effective for creating habits of success. Now, goals are important because you want to know where you're going and set a milestone for where you want to get to, but systems, creating habits, creating simple daily actions are actually some of the best ways for you to get to your end destination. And what's amazing with this is Barry O'Reilly, our chief incubation officer, is absolutely brilliant. And Barry wrote an amazing book called Unlearn, which I think is, to be fair, probably one of the best books I've read thus far, because we're always taught to learn new things, right? We're always taught to acquire new information or go out and challenge your thoughts on a topic. But what about the moments where you have to actually unlearn some of the old bad habits that you thought were serving you, but they actually weren't? This is a super important concept for us as a studio, because in some way, shape, or form, we actually have to unlearn some of the bad habits and some of the characteristics that we thought were serving in the startup space that we're coming to find out may not have been as advantageous as they were before. Learning is super important because learning challenges the brain. Your brain, in some way, shape, or form, constantly always needs to be challenged in order for your brain to continue to grow and adapt and to improve. And one of the best ways to do that is by implementing some simple, basic steps. Now, everybody knows you need to exercise, you need to move, but you actually need to move your body in order to move your career. Well, why is that, right? Can't you just sit at a desk all day, every day, work on your tasks, get things done, and move to the next level? Well, yeah, sure, probably. But here's the thing. Movement is the language of the brain. And when you understand the impacts and the power and the magnitude of how impactful movement can be for allowing your brain to just be better at doing whatever you need to do, you'll never look back. Physical exercise is one of the most effective ways to help your brain promote plasticity, improve blood flow, dampen inflammation, increase your chances of forming new connections to allow you to learn and think and grow and adapt. Movement is also one of the simplest things for you to implement. Literally taking a walk for 5 or 10 minutes can be one of the most therapeutic things that you can do throughout your day. And one of the best things for you to do is actually to break up your day by allowing yourself to have chunks of time where you are having focused work. And then you get up and you move and you just completely check out for 10 minutes by taking a walk, playing an instrument, doing something to take your mind off that. Because it allows the brain to acquire this sort of flexibility of thought, of movement, of different circuits that are responsible for different processes to actually take place. Movement is the language of the brain for a reason. If exercise was bottled up into a pill, it would be a blockbuster drug for the next millennia. And to be fair, in my opinion, I think it would probably knock out 80 to 90% of all medications on the market today because of how vast the impacts exercise has on our brains and bodies. This is also the reason why babies move in the womb, right? We base motor milestones and neurological development off of motor milestones in babies moving, right? So going from tummy time to developing neck muscles to, crawling and now sitting and now they're standing and they're walking. We need to have those layers formed on top of each other in order for our brains to develop adequately. And babies who miss those milestones develop issues, right? Now they may not develop right away, but maybe they're down the road or later in life, and you can have a lot of just different aspects that come about with that. But what's also important with this too is that human movement activates the brain, and you're always fighting gravity. So therefore, gravity is always activating and stimulating your brain in some way, shape, or form, even when you're sleeping. This is the exact mechanism for why astronauts, when they go to space, they can't stay for very long, because they don't have this driving force of gravity pulling on their muscles and joints anymore. So therefore, they're not activating their brains as much. That's why they exercise 2 to 4 hours a day in the space station. This is also one of the reasons why when they come back from space, they see changes cognitively, neurologically, structurally. It's a big issue for us. So movement will always be your friend. If you're not taking a walk or two every single day between your meetings or even in the morning to start your day, you're missing out on a massive opportunity to help you update your software. Nutrition is one of the most underutilized components of brain health and human performance. Now, there's been a lot of movement into understanding the gut microbiome, looking at different foods and what foods are right for you, what foods are wrong for you. What we're really finding out is it's all about optimizing your gut. And it's all about optimizing your gut because your gut and your brain are heavily connected and heavily integrated. They're actually integrated via a nerve called the vagus nerve. And so your vagus nerve literally controls everything from the middle of your throat all the way down to your belly button. And what's beautiful about this nerve is that it sends information from the environment into the brain, but it also sends information from your brain down out to the rest of your organs, tissues, things like that. Your vagal tone and your ability to optimize your vagal tone can have massive, massive outcomes for you cognitively. There are different research studies going on right now looking at vagal nerve stimulation. So outside of using vagal nerve stimulation for treating epilepsy and seizures, they're also finding it's good for treating migraines, headaches, post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, concussions, brain injuries. They're doing different studies right now with armed forces to seeing whether or not it can optimize cognitive performance. Well, what does this look like? Well, your gut is foundational and is the keystone for your health. We know that if you have a healthy gut, you're probably going to have a healthy brain, which is going to manifest to having a healthy life. And yes, these are all implicated and they're all dependent on each other, because if your gut isn't doing well, what we know with our current understanding of how neurodegenerative diseases work, you're not going to have a healthy brain. And that's going to be a problem because it's going to affect your quality of life as well too. And so your nutrition is foundational for your ability to be able to not only dampen inflammation, but even controlling blood sugar, right? Increasing increasing insulin sensitivity, allowing your body and brain to take out the trash. This is a super important concept for us. One of the simplest things that we forget to do is we forget to drink water. Now, I have a water sitting next to me. I like to think that I drink enough of it because I go to the bathroom way too often. But the problem with this is that hydration, especially in small amounts, when we're not drinking enough water, can affect us cognitively. Our brain is 73% water. Okay, so when we take a look at that, it's a massive pool of opportunity for you not only to optimize your brain, but optimize your functionality. The problem is that even a change of 2% in your hydration status can yield cognitive changes. changes in your memory, your mood, your ability to answer questions and process information. This is massive because during a regular workout, you lose almost 10% of your brain and body's water. Think about that for a second. So if you're not working out, which you should be, or you're not staying hydrated, which you should be, you're missing a massive yet really simple opportunity to help your brain and your body stay high level and update your software. Now, hydration, people look and they're like, oh, should I do Powerades and Gatorades? And should I do all of these different types of electrolytes? Maybe, right? I mean, is the benefit of you having a Powerade and a Gatorade with high fructose corn syrup in it better than you just drinking water and getting your other electrolytes from food? There's a lot of conversations to have there, but what I'm going to tell you at the end of the day is that you're never going to go wrong with drinking water. So start drinking more water. More importantly, too, get enough sleep. I don't know if any of you out there have read Matthew Walker's book, but it is an eye-opening textbook because what he's talked about is all of the vast implications of how impactful sleep can be in our quality of life. There's a reason you sleep a third of your life, or at least you should be sleeping a third of your life. Sleep is 100% restorative for your brain and for your body. Sleep, intuitively, in some way, shape, or form, innately allows your brain and body to take out the day's trash. So as we're working and we're talking and we're doing things with work and we're building things, your brain and body in some way, shape, or form are breaking down proteins and structures and having different metabolites that we need to get rid of. Your cerebral spinal fluid in your brain and around your spinal cord actually increases in velocity when you're sleeping to help you clear out these toxins. That's the latest theory as to what's going on. What's amazing with sleep too is that it helps us consolidate memories. So the meeting that you had yesterday with your corporate executive that was really important and really impactful for you, how are you going to remember that, right? Because what's interesting about unlearning, and this is what Dr. Gina Poe at UCLA has found, is that our brains are really good at storing information and learning and storing memories, but a lot of the stuff that we did the day before or even 2 or 3 days before isn't that important. So we actually have circuits in our brain that are meant to just not learn. And so we get rid of that information. We don't keep those synapses throughout the day. Sleep is very restorative, and sleep is one of the most impactful ways for you to optimize your energy levels for the next day as well too. Because if you sleep well, you're probably going to feel well the next day. And so sleep has a massive factor. And this is one of the things that we're actually pursuing as a studio right now is how do we help people optimize their sleep? Every single person is different. Every single brain is different. Every single nervous system that we're dealing with is different. Well, we're keenly focused on the wearable space at the moment. And what we're doing is we're doing research with Dr. Gina Poe about finding ways to help people optimize their sleep and giving them the optimal window for their sleep, because this changes with every person. Now, it's not every single day, but it can affect you in some way, shape, or form. What I want you to understand is that new habits can equate to a new brain. We've seen this on MRIs and CTs and all types of diagnostic imaging, is that we can see circuits in the brain changing and lighting up, especially with functional MRI imaging, based off of the tasks and the habits and the systems that you implement into your life. And so if you want to have different outcomes, you're only going to get that way by having different habits, different systems, and changing your brain. And what's beautiful about that is that the brain likes to change. The brain likes to be challenged and improve and adapt. And it feeds off of that, because that's really, at the end of the day, what keeps us alive. I don't know how many of you have seen people as they get towards retirement age or as they stop moving or start having a purpose, but things accelerate relatively quickly and not in a very good way. So when you have new habits and you develop new habits, you can literally have a new brain. But at the end of the day, this is all going to come down to what you're willing to do. It's not what anyone else is willing to do, right? So you can look at all of the textbooks, you can look at all the information and have the best biohacking understanding and get all the supplements, the pills, the nutrition, all of those things. But if you're not taking massive action, then you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. And this is a problem for a lot of people, is you got to look yourself in the mirror. Even I do. We all do. We all have things that we need to improve and get better at. Now, at the end of the day, no one will look out for you as well as you will. Sadly, in a lot of situations, a lot of people think that they're stuck or that they're broken and that they're not able to get through something. What I'm going to tell you is that that's not true. I've worked with some of the worst cases, neurologically, structurally, and even metabolically. And every single person that's come to my clinic, every single person that I've talked to, people that we're even working with right now, companies, are testaments and proof that your brain and body can change. All you need to do is implement these simple daily strategies. And sure, right? Maybe you need to see a medical doctor. Maybe you need to see a physician or a provider to get a true expert opinion on something that might be going on pathologically. But at the end of the day, once you've cleared those things out, it's really up to you, because you're never going to get the benefits of these things by just knowing them. The only way you're going to get the benefits is by implementing them. I can know all of the benefits about exercise, but if I never choose to implement it, I'll never get the outcomes that I'm looking for. And so here's a question you should be asking yourself. Well, with all this information, peak performance, talking about the brain, optimizing business, what does this mean? And why Nobody Studios? Like, why is Nobody Studios talking about this? Why am I here discussing peak performance regarding Nobody Studios? Well, this is what we're about. For those of you who don't know what we are doing with Nobody Studios is a venture studio. We're essentially a startup that creates startups. And what's been amazing about this journey is that we've learned so much about the startup creation process. We've met with so many amazing founders and people who've brought their influence, their talent to the journey to allow us to build and scale companies faster than ever before. Our goal is to create 100 viable companies in the next 5 years. And I truly believe that we're going to do it. Now, as we finish our angel round and we go into our crowdfunding round, there are a lot of opportunities for people to become involved. And whether that's investing, whether that's becoming somebody who wants to put their time, energy, and resources into a project, or even bringing your ideas into the idea lab, there are so many opportunities. But selfishly for me, and what I'm excited about, is what we're doing in the health and wellness space. Because this is our core thesis. Our core thesis at the studio is that patients are taking their health into their own hands. People are sick and tired of being sick and tired. And if things were working so well with the current systems that we have in place right now, then we wouldn't be in this predicament where we have massive trends of people dealing with obesity, cardiovascular issues. We have a massive mental health epidemic. And so we truly believe that the future of medicine is focused on individualized medicine. We understand that there are limitations in the current ways that we go about treating and implementing different types of strategies to help people improve their quality of life. And one of the big things that we're hedging a bet on is that the wearable and objective technology space has a bright future for this. Not only with tracking and giving people feedback, but what if we could predict when you should go to sleep, or when you should have that workout, or when you should eat a specific type of food? What if we could use different markers about your physiology to tell you and make an informed decision only based off of you, not anybody else? We firmly believe that we have the power to do that. And what's amazing with this is that we have so many interests in this space, right? So wearable and objective technologies, I truly believe one day that technology will be able to give you an individualized, innovative, cutting-edge treatment program that's specifically based for you. Looking into longevity and biohacking, we think that we can actually allow people to live long and healthy lives without disease. If any of you have read any of David Sinclair's work, looking at sirtuin pathways, understanding the mitochondria, how these different genetic markers and DNA sequences, manifest epigenetically over time. There's so many amazing things going on in the research space. Even just simply developing technology in healthcare. Being involved in healthcare for the last decade, I've realized that a lot of electronic health records weren't built for the help of patients and to benefit patients or doctors. They were built so medical providers could use those to send codes to insurance companies for reimbursement. They weren't built to help us make clinical decisions or to help patients get better or to engage them in follow-up and make sure that somebody has a quarterback in your corner allowing you to be able to make decisions and guide you around the right path. Individualized supplementation and nutrition, right? The gut is the foundation. This is the keystone for health. And what we're finding is that neurodegenerative conditions actually start in the gut 10 to 15 years before any neurological symptoms even manifest. It's powerful, right? It's not as easy as just taking a probiotic anymore. There's a lot going on. Even when you get into the medical device development, there are a lot of ways to help people optimize their quality of life. One of the things I'm interested in right now is vagal nerve stimulation. You can do it through the gut. You can do it by surgery. You can do it over the neck by a gamma core. You can do it through the ear. But guess what? You're stimulating your vagus nerve right now by breathing. So could we optimize vagal tone by implementing breathing exercises and techniques? Yeah, I do it all the time. I do it for myself because I've noticed benefits and improvements. Sleep assessments. Okay, we just talked about this. What if we could help you improve your quality of life by helping you sleep better, sleep more soundly, knowing when to go to bed tonight, not just saying you went to bed at 9 last night, you should probably go to bed at 9 o'clock tonight. What if you had an individualized treatment program for your sleep based off of your sleep to understand your brain and body? We believe that we can actually do that. Plant-based medicine and mental health, this is a massive field that's completely blowing up. We have a massive mental health issue going on right now globally, right? 1 in 3 people are dealing with some sort of mental health crisis. This is a significant issue that our generation is going to have to solve. And plant medicines are on the forefront of understanding how we can change the brain and the body from within. What's beautiful about that too is there's a lot of opportunities for us to even get even more developed and involved with machine learning, AI, and understanding how we can actually make artificial intelligence work for us in an intelligent way to help people improve their quality of life. And so what I want to get past across to you right now is the fact that the future of healthcare is here. And at Nobody's Studios, we are doubling down on our ability to be able to bring amazing companies to the forefront to help even more people live a better life. Not because we want to, but because we feel like we need to, right? Understanding people structurally, neurologically, nutritionally, psychologically, all of these things are fair game for what we're trying to build at the studio. And if that resonates with you, we want to hear from you. We want you to become an investor. We want you to become somebody who brings their talent, their influence, your knowledge, your skill set, or even your experience. What we want to do is we want to solve problems, and we want to help a lot of people along the way as well. And that's why I'm here. And that's why I truly believe in what we're building and what we're scaling as a studio. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And I hope you did find a way to help you maximize your brain, to maximize your business, because there are a lot of basic ways for you to do that. During the next session that we talk about for peak performance, I'm going to go into some of the philosophies that we share overall as a studio with regards to the healthcare space. I'm going to share some statistics about mental health, addiction, substance abuse, and I'm going to talk about some of the companies that we're actually launching within the next couple of months. It's a pretty exciting time to be a nobody. And what I want to show you is that you have an opportunity to be a nobody as well. So for those who are interested in joining us for the crowdfunding, like I said, there's a link at the bottom right corner. You can invest on the republic.com website. And if you have any questions or have any comments, I'd love to hear from them. And reach out to me on LinkedIn or find me at any other social media platform. So thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you again at the next broadcast.